This is the Variety Sports Network created for the fans, by the fans. Now to your host of tonight's show.
Ladies
Let's
and gentlemen.
go.
Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the seventh inning stretch. Darren,
Sorry,
take it away.
Josh. That intro hyped me up, man. That was new to me. I even had to cut you off on that. That fired me up a little bit, Brandon. Well done there, sir. I gotta give him that. That fired me up there, baby. I'm ready to go.
I told you the new one was good.
Let's go. That lights me up. That's seventh inning stretch. Let's get into it. We're here on a Thursday night. We've been with you all summer here. I got Josh Edwards there with me. We're going to have John there from Out of Your Falcon Mind be joining us here shortly in a little bit. I'm sure we'll talk a little Braves baseball along with him there. I'm your host along with Josh Edwards tonight, Darren Breyer. Josh, a lot of things going on right now in Major League Baseball. The division races really heating up. A lot of teams coming off that all-star break. You know, there's always a big little push there one way or the other. Some teams start to rise a little bit, like my Brewers that I called out. And you got some teams starting to fade, like the Yankees. We'll get into that. How we doing, sir, here tonight? We got a lot to get into.
Dude, lots to get into since last time we were on. Lots of good baseball being played. Things are getting real shaky right now. I mean, you know, like you said, you're the Brewers who you picked. They're now in the lead for the Central and the NL. The Cardinals are 8-2 in their last 10, and right now they're up 3-0 on the Cubs. They're just smacking Marcus Stroman around for the second time this season. I don't know what's going on, man. As a Cardinals fan, you know, it's nice to see them win some ball games, but it's like you guys were on your way to a top 10 pick. Oh, and Nolan Arenado just hit another two-run double.
He's been absolutely on fire, Mr. Arenado. We'll get into him a little later in the podcast.
Yep.
I have a little something on him. Josh, I gotta say here, you've been doing good. You're on little sleep probably throughout the week, sir. I can respect you for showing up here. I got right away. We got a comment here. We got our guy Flea Market Floppy Disk. He's been tuning in the last few weeks. We always appreciate that, sir. It means a lot to us. You see the A's traded for Mungie. We'll get into that a little bit later. Josh, a funny story about this guy that was on the A's. I got to tell you. So locally out here on the broadcast, right? You have like ABC, right? News or whatever. And there was this guy from the sports. He literally started behind home plate, and he walked around the stadium. And his goal was to see if he could find a jersey from somebody on the current team, like how long it would take to see a jersey on the current team. It literally took him 1 minute and 30 seconds to find that guy's jersey, and he's not even on the team anymore. He did this about 2 weeks ago. It's absolutely hilarious. I mean, because it was like Chapman, Olsen, like Henderson. You know what I mean? It was anybody from this roster. So I found that absolutely hilarious. So when he brought up that name, that's all I think about from now on. That was the name the guy found when he broke his minute and a half there. Yes, I think he will be a good hitter for the A's. He's been very good this year as well. We'll get into the trade talk a little bit later as well on this show. We have a lot to get into. Josh, I feel like it'd be remiss, though. I feel like this time of the year, we're basically 2 months left in the season, right? I mean, we're almost at the dog days a little bit. We're at that trade deadline point a little bit. The division races are just really heating up at this point right now. Like, especially for me, the AL East, we've been talking about all year with it being a really good, like a really good division from that point on. But let's go through it real quick. 58-37 is the Orioles. They tied the Rays for first place. I know they have a game going on right now at the minute. We'll try to keep you updated there. It's 3-3 in the top of the 10th right now. The Orioles actually have a guy on third base with one out, so they could take a one-game full-out lead at that point. That's where we're out in the season right now. But, I mean, to me, right away, that's the division that stands out to me. But, sir, I'm going to let you take the lead with it. What division race has you most intrigued right now?
So I'm big on the East. But the West, West, we're having some movement there as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's movement everywhere. I mean, we can talk about every division tonight because there's.
Well, which has you most intrigued, though?
Everywhere.
Like you.
I would have to be with you on the East just because it's the Orioles and the Rays up top. The Yankees are all the way in the cellar. I mean, even Boston's better than New York right now. Toronto's climbed back up into the playoff hunt because they're actually in the wild card at the moment. So this division is a complete turnaround from what we are used to traditionally. Your two powerhouse teams are in the cellar, and all the teams that they're usually beating on are up top and going into the playoffs. Oh, this is nice.
Yeah, so you got the standings right there a little bit.
Nice.
Got
So
50 yeah,
it's crazy to me, man. Tampa Bay finally cooled off. We knew they were going to cool off at some point. The question is, how long is the cool off period, and how quickly can they get back up and running? They've got a ton of injuries right now. Lowe has cooled off and is not hitting like he was at the beginning of the season. Wander Franco still being Wander Franco. Randy Arozarena still being Randy Arozarena. But I mean, if you really look at it, they got 2 starting pitchers out for the entire season. They've had 2 other starting pitchers go down. They got a reliever down, and they're playing with a no-name infield and outfield outside of Franco and Arozarena. This team is still overachieving, even though if Baltimore wins, they'll be in second place. They're a good team.
Yeah.
Baltimore is a really good team. I think they're a pitcher away from being a real serious contender for the World Series this year.
Yeah.
And I think they're a year ahead of schedule. So that's the most fun division to watch right now for the playoffs for me.
No, I think that, I mean, and like we said, like even the Yankees, who I look forward to talking about fading a little bit, they're 50-47 at the point right now, right? So they've kind of come back to earth a little bit. They're almost at 500. They, and to their credit, they're without, to me, one of the top 2 hitters in the league, right? So I mean, like they've been doing it most of the last, when he get hurt until the first week of June. So he's been out almost 2 months at this point here. They're, they've kind of survived without him, and now at this point, you can only play so long without your best players in the league usually, and that's what's kind of starting to catch up. Especially when you're in a division that's this deep, Josh, like you just mentioned. I think the thing with the Rays, though, that intrigues me the most is, remember how at the beginning of the year we were saying, "Oh, this team's easily winning 100 games. This team's no doubt like they're there." But then we talked about it a few weeks ago, and we kind of both came to the same conclusion: is like, there's a chance they fade. We kind of like came back to the same thought process, right? Because the problem is when you start out that freaking hot, it is very hard to sustain. I mean, like to say, oh, they're going to beat the Mariners. Well, that's a once every 75-year thing. That's not everyone, that often. So I think it's natural they faded a little bit here. I'm curious though with this Orioles Rays race, and then you look at the Blue Jays, who I still have confidence in 5 back. If you had to take a hunch, are you still taking the Rays, or are you kind of leaning towards the Orioles still at this moment? And floppy disk, you're right, they've been awful.
I have no take anymore on this division. I have no idea, because I think Toronto is in a position where, being the fact that they're only 5 games back, they're 7-3 in their last 10. That team is clicking right now. So, I mean, very easily, Baltimore has a bad series. Tampa Bay stays cold. Next thing we know, we got a three-way tie up top at the division. So this division wide open at this point. I mean, mathematically, even the Yankees, if they got hot for long enough, and everybody else went cold, could come back and win the division. It's not that far out of reach. So no, this division, I'm not even trying to make a prediction at this point. But if I had to lay money.
That's all that matters. Money's where the mouth is, right?
If I had to lay money, I would probably lean towards Baltimore.
I mean, if you're the Yankees, how disappointed do you have to be? You have one of the highest paid pitchers in the whole entire league. You have one of the highest paid hitters in the whole entire league, and you're sitting at dead last in the AL East. Unbelievable. Second division, Josh, that you feel like you're most intrigued by here?
That's where I got to go out to the NL West, and then
let's take a look.
So the Dodgers have regained the lead out west. Arizona's sitting 2 games back. San Francisco's 2 games back, and then San Diego's 10, and Colorado's out of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, this division's still technically a 4-team race, but is it really? I think it's more of a 3-team race again, unless San Diego gets hot and everybody else just gets cold. But San Francisco is playing good ball right now. They've gotten better throughout the season with a lackluster roster that I said at best they'd be 3rd at best. And they are tied for 2nd right now, and they're knocking on the door of 1st. So this division is much like the AL East, very competitive. It's all over the place. Anything can really happen here. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm really hoping Arizona can come back, though, and take this division over.
With that said, we got to bring in our guy John here. John from Out of Your Falcon Mind did a podcast last night, and look, folks, he's back with us. He's a gamer like that. Appreciate you joining us here, sir. It's been a couple of weeks. How you doing out there?
Doing great, man. Yeah, I had to come to you from the office. A little bit different digs tonight, but it's okay. Quick setup. Working late, so I figured, I can't miss it if I can get on there. Had a long one. I had a long show last night, so
And that's why I'm saying I appreciate you taking some time to join us.
Oh, it's all good, man. We had. I mean, that's the thing. We have to. You're fantastic. You're just boom, boom, boom. You got your topics. You go on. You move on. We just talk about shit.
Gotta get home for dinner, John.
Dude, I was so hungry last night, man. We got done at like 10. I was starving, man. But it was great. It was a great show. It's always fun. But we have to get better at like regimenting the time, because it definitely.
Well, I gotta say, the one thing about your show, you got 75,000 people commenting, so that's a good thing on your
That's
show.
true.
Yeah,
That's true.
You can't be mad about that part of it for sure. You got a good show last night. I was able to watch a little bit of it. You got a good guest on there, Mike, always entertaining as well. So,
that's a guarantee.
And you always have to keep the show. I love it. So you do a great job with it as well, sir.
It's challenging, dude. It's challenging because I've got the chat to work with. I've got the topics. I've got Mike. I've got to see what he's doing, what he's talking, because he'll go off the rails, and if we have a guest on, so it's tiring, but it's fun, but it wears me out by the time we're done with the show. I'm tired, but yeah.
With that said, man, we were talking division races. We just got into it. We were talking about the AL East. That was the one we thought was the most intriguing. I think most people think that, but with the Orioles now taking the lead, the Yankees now falling to fifth, we talked that. Josh just brought up the NL West as his second most intriguing division. Where do you kind of stand with your 1-2 there, and your most in the division races you're most intrigued by?
I mean, it's tough to not say one of those two. I mean, the NL Central, it was shitty as it kind of is, but I mean, it's still kind of. I'm sorry, Josh, but I mean, overall from top to bottom, it's still I still wonder who's going to come out on top of that. Can Cincinnati, do it? Is the Brewers going to be there? Can St. Louis make a charge? Even though I know they're probably looking. I don't know, Josh. They still looking to sell? You think?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Either.
I mean, they're 82 in their last 10. They're
right?
5-1 Chicago right now. I don't know. I don't know what this team is.
I know. So that one's intriguing. It's hard not to be intrigued, like you said, by Baltimore doing their thing, Yankees falling off the cliff, and then Arizona falling down. So we damn near got swept by Arizona. I mean, if not for Austin Riley today.
What do you think about the NL West? That's where Josh was going with it a little bit there, right before you jumped on. Obviously, living out here in the Bay Area, the Giants, they were really hot to start. They lost the last couple games to the Reds. To me, they're slightly overachieving a little bit. The Dodgers now have started to raise their game. Diamondbacks have fallen out a little bit. But again, baseball's a weird sport. 2 months, anything can happen. Do you have a feeling one way or the other? Or let me put it this way. Do you think the Giants and the D-backs are going to get in the wild card no matter what? How do you feel about that whole thing with that?
Yeah, I kind of feel like one of those teams will get in the wild card. The Dodgers, I didn't have a ton of faith in them, but I kind of felt like if they took over first, it'd be hard to get it back from them. I kind of thought if they got that momentum going and they started playing like they should be playing with the lineup they have, then they may not give it up, And the same, I think on the last show we all talked about Arizona, how they don't have any amazing stars or anything like that. They just all play baseball really well. Corbin Carroll, we know him, and Christian Walker, I think, leads their team in home runs with maybe 19, 20. So they're not like a power hitting team, but they just play good, solid ball. But they like I said, they were struggling big time until they hit. They came to Atlanta and took 2 out of 3 from us, but it's. I still think, they'll have, now that the Dodgers is there, I think it'll be tough to take it back from them. But
Josh, you've been as steadfast on Arizona as any person I since March. You have been as steadfast on this team as anybody there. You believed in them. They're still 2 games out of the D-backs. Is the belief still there in this team?
Oh, I still believe they're a playoff team.
And
I think they could get out of the first round of the playoffs. And I don't mean the wild card. I mean, they could make a push. They could upset a team or two.
Did y'all see any of that today? Zach Gallen and Strider? That was
pretty good stuff there.
That was pretty wild, man. The Strider had 12 Ks at the end of the 5th inning.
Got me a ton of fantasy points today.
Oh, hell yeah.
Appreciate it so much.
And then the seventh, he just walked a guy, hit a guy, 3-run homer, boom, we're down 3-1. Next guy homers, he's out of the game, and then Gallen was pitching a perfect game through 6, I think it was, until Arcia hit a home run. And I mean, it's what you expected from those two guys for sure. It was fun to watch. Agonizing to watch, but also fun to watch.
I love when in the regular season, and sometimes in the regular season you get these matchups that are even better than the postseason. So that, like, you know what I mean? If you just look at head to head, because they kind of go against each other. So it's kind of fascinating when like these guys go, top notch, especially when their divisions are playing as well. I kind of want to move to the division to the NL Central just for a second, because I've believed in the Brewers from the very beginning. They just swept the Reds after the Reds were red hot. And now they're kind of, and then the guy, he's coming, he's alive again. Christian Yelich, welcome to the big leagues again, sir. Welcome again, MVP. Now he's alive. I just believe in their pitching staff. I believe enough in their hitters more than anybody else in this division. The Reds did come on strong there, Josh, but again, like, you're a young team, you got to have a little regression. I don't know if I believe in their pitching enough to take them that far. Are you with me now? Are the Brewers going to sustain this thing?
I don't trust the Brewers at all. I just don't trust that team.
Hey, we're going there tomorrow.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Or no, Atlanta is?
Yeah.
Do me a favor. Just take 3 from them.
I would love to.
Please. That helps out my cause right now. This is why it sucks to be a Cardinals fan, because all I've been doing is prepping for a top 10 pick and for them to just tank the rest of the season. And now I'm like, no, I need Atlanta to go to get 3 from Milwaukee so they can help me out.
Right.
When somebody says it sucks to be a Cardinals fan and I'm an A's fan, it just pisses me off. But go ahead.
Dude, this year sucks to be a Cardinals fan because we're not used to it. But no, I mean, Milwaukee. I'll frame it like this: if Woodruff comes back and looks like himself, and Corbin Burns continues to pitch like he should, this team should win the division.
No doubt.
But I don't trust the team.
It's fair.
Because I think the ownership and the management knows this is not a playoff contending team. They may make the playoffs, but I think they know what this team is and what this team isn't. And they could get out of the best of 5 series with the pitching they have, but there's no way they make it out of another round. So I don't think they're going to go spend and be big buyers at the deadline. They could be sellers. And I'm not talking major sellers, but
you're right. A couple of years ago, so
that's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
I don't trust the team. I don't trust the ownership of the management. But they should win the division.
To your point, Corbin Burns didn't either last year, right before the season started. So you're totally right about that.
So there's some reasons I don't like Milwaukee. They should win it. At this point, it should be theirs. But we have seen insane things in baseball, starting right after the All-Star break. And the team that typically does something insane is my St. Louis Cardinals.
That's true.
They're 8-2 in the last 10. They're up 5-1 right now in Chicago in the bottom of the 4th. Matz is finally starting to look like what we know him as.
Yep.
But if they win this game, I mean, that's a 6-game win streak. And they just picked up a game on Chicago, which means we're sitting real pretty if you guys handle Milwaukee. Because I don't think Cincinnati sustains all the way to the end. Mm-hmm. And we have more games with our divisional opponents the rest of the season than we do anywhere else. Because we played most of our whatever the new schedule layout, we played most of those other teams in the first half of the season. We're going to see our division now the most. The rest
are y'all liking the new schedule this year?
I do and don't.
I kind of like more division play.
Do you?
I did.
I don't know. Maybe I'm the minority. I love it. I hate seeing the damn Mets in Philly like all the time.
Marlins.
All the time.
The Marlins.
Marlin, yeah, but yeah, just I don't know. Maybe it was just I just like the White Sox just came to town. Like it's like that side of it's cool because you're getting to see teams you never like. And the Angels are coming to town in a few weeks. Like we'll get this, Ohtani, a Trout. Well, not Trout, of course, because he's freaking hurt again. But that part about it I like. I mean, and it does make it more interesting. It does make those divisional games that they that you do have, that much more important, though. I mean, it does. I think it kind of ratchets that up a little bit.
No, I agree with that. John, I'm so old school. I wish there was just American League, National League. That's how I don't even wish they played each other. I wish they just kind of did that. So that's where I'm with it.
Yeah.
Just because I love like the All-Star game and like, we haven't faced these guys in the World Series.
Yeah,
like
right.
to me, there's something magical about that in some ways. So I just like that part. I kind of missed a little bit. Like even the NFL, right? Like you're an NFL guy. The one thing I love about the AFC NFC is they only play once every 4 years.
Right.
So that part I even like. So even if in baseball they did something like that, I'd be okay with. But I just don't like. I don't know. I feel like they're playing each other too much for me in some regards, but I hear you on that regard. That makes sense. The Reds, though, John, I kind of want to go. What do you think about the Reds? So, Josh, he mentioned the Cardinals coming up with it. I'm with him. I've been saying to him the whole year. The Cardinals are the freaking Cardinals. They're just going to make a run. That's what their DNA freaking is. And when you have Goldschmidt and Arenado at the corners, it's very hard to see that team. I don't know. It's just hard to see them folding like that. Like come the summer months. But what do you think about the Reds there with them falling off? Do you think the Cardinals are the team that jumps them at second place, possibly?
So what? They're 8 games behind.
Let me get
us.
it on the screen here.
Yeah, they're 8 games behind Cincy right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Baseball, like we just were kind of talking about, baseball is such a funny sport, man. You can go on these runs, or you can get cold for 2 or 3 weeks, and it's just those teams that are able to dig out of it quicker than others is what separates them, right? So, I mean, I don't. It's always hard for me to totally count St. Louis out just because of what we've seen from St. Louis over the years. It's just
absolutely.
It's just I even with Dingle Nuts as a manager, like it's still like. It's tough for me to count them out. You know what I mean? Like because of the talent they have on the roster, their pitching is like Josh said, starting to come around. So it's like, in Cincinnati, the young guys who they don't know if they don't know it right now. Like they're just kind of going out there and I thought maybe next year they might really make some noise. This year they're just kind of doing a thing. Young guys coming together, but yeah, that's a tough one, dude. I don't have a ton of faith in Cincinnati, but again, that's still the most entertaining series I've seen all year long with the Braves was that one we played them, and they were lineup was legit. I mean, it's
they're electric.
Yeah, they are. It's fun. It's hard to go against them, but
isn't there something, John, about young guys playing too, though?
Oh,
isn't
it is
there something
totally
about that.
Totally,
it's totally different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like Perez. I mean, like he. Like he's just playing ball. Like he's not worried about the race. He's just out there having fun playing ball. I mean, throwing 98 from shortstop.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one thing with baseball. When you have these young guys that are studs, you see this freedom in them. Yeah. And it's so enjoyable to watch. Like Acuna Jr., you saw it over the year. Totally. You saw it a couple of years ago. Like there's just this pure joy. Like you're a kid playing the game you love, and you're just a stud at it, and you can just do whatever you want. It is really, and that's what I get when I watch De La Cruz. I mean, just showing off 98.5. He doesn't always have to throw that, but just showing it off at it. You know what I mean? Like, you got to love that stuff. Bryce Harper back in the day, right? When he came up, like, running the bases super fast. Like, every play matters. That's the stuff I do. Like, I do love about the Reds is that part.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think they've got a good combination of they got Votto, they got the old veteran there, and they've got some other guys that have played in the league for a little bit. So it's not like they're all young, but they've got a good little combination of guys. So I mean, if I had to, I mean, I don't think I would put money on any of those teams right now. I can't call it yet. It just seems like it's like I said, if St. Louis continues this run and they keep sliding, then I don't know, man.
Josh, let me ask you this. Who do you have more confidence in to win their division? Texas holding off Houston at 4.5, okay? Or do you have more confidence in Minnesota holding off Cleveland at 2 games?
That's a mean question.
Question.
You can pass, I guess.
No passing. You must answer that. That's not coming to me.
I'm not a wuss. I'm not going to pass. I'm going to say I would
Indiana.
have
Bobby Knight would be disappointed.
Exactly. I grew up in Indiana. I'm from St. Louis. I grew up in
Dude, where are you from? My wife's from Indiana.
So I grew up in north suburb of Indianapolis called Noblesville.
Okay, she's from Richmond. She's from Richmond. I don't know if you know where that's at.
So Richmond's right across from Cincinnati.
No
You
shit.
got to
Okay.
drive through Richmond to go to Great American Ballpark. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
been
that
to
was
there 100
her
times.
first. That was her first baseball game with Cincinnati. Yeah.
And Great American's a beautiful little ballpark. It's a hitter's park. I never had any issues there being a Cardinals fan, ever. And you know
Nice.
they don't like us.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
So, but no, never had any issues. Great place to go visit. Good fan base over there. Tickets were always cheaper than driving to St. Louis for games, and it was closer than going to St. Louis. So
Yeah, makes sense. Sorry,
Cardinals
I derailed
just took
that
it home.
question there.
No, you're good. You're good. What
I
was
gave
your,
Josh more time to think about it. That's all you did.
Yeah, more time to distract me. I mean, I would say I trust Minnesota more because I think that the AL Central is weaker. But the Rangers are for real. They are the real deal. I called this in 2022 that the Rangers were going to be a great team next year, and they needed to go get Judge in the offseason to put him over the top. They may not need Judge. So I have more confidence in Minnesota, but the Rangers are real.
They are.
Definitely.
John, more confidence in the Rangers to hold off the Astros, or more confidence in the Twins to hold off the Indians? I guess the Tigers, you could stay there 5 out. So I'm not going to dismiss that, but so you could add them into the AL Central as well. But where do you stand on that question there?
Yeah, I mean, I think more confidence in Texas. Yeah, same reason. I mean, I don't trust Minnesota. I mean, I think Cleveland can probably. I mean, who knows? Detroit could probably maybe even catch them. I still don't like Houston very much, so that kind of weighs into it. So I mean, but no, like I said, Texas 100% for real. Man, the offense is for real. Pitching's good. They're, obviously good manager and Bochy. I mean, like I got confidence in them. They've won 6 in a row.
Yeah, the thing with Cleveland is, like you said, good manager, and so it's hard for me to ever count Terry.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like Cleveland, and I still feel like Jose Ramirez is the best player in that division.
Mm-hmm.
So like what I mean. So like I slightly lean with them, slightly still a little bit more. And Carlos Correa, you have been just garbage all season. Like goodness, just terrible all year for Minnesota. To me, it's actually quite impressive they have a 2-game lead at this point. If you kind of look at some of their players' stats overall, and I actually kind of sneaky. Me and Josh, I think we brought this up like a month ago, right? Maybe 5 weeks ago. We said Detroit might be coming. Like we kind of just threw it out there for a second. 5 games out. Spencer Torkelson, like literally, 30 miles from where I live. Got to see him play a lot in high school. He's struggled early, but I definitely still believe in the Tigers. So kind of root for them a little bit for that reason. But for me, I would take the Texas Rangers as well. Bruce Bochy to me is one of the best managers since Joe Torre. So if you're going to tell me that's who I'm taking there in that regard. So
Bruce Bochy is.
Go ahead.
If I can't, Bruce Bochy is the best manager currently in the MLB who has tenure.
No doubt.
I mean, if you want to date back to 2000, I think he's the best manager since 2000.
No doubt. I would agree.
Don't argue with that.
Really? Okay. I figured somebody would tell me I was wrong.
No, dude. I mean, no, you're right. Yeah, I mean, those years in San Francisco, and what he's. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of. He's kind of. I mean, he's kind of like, not to toot my own guy's horn, but he's kind of like Snicker. I mean, he lets the guys be guys. He lets them, have their personalities and not try to be so old school where it's,
he reminds me of Bobby Cox, honestly, John.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And Bobby loosened up a little bit at the end there, but he was hardcore like for a long time. He was, like I said, he threw Escobar off the field for wearing a cutoff tank top, in warm-ups. I mean, like he was, suits on the plane, like, all this stuff. And Snicker, obviously coming up with Bobby, like that was kind of his, like if you talk to like any player, if you talk to players that were around Snicker when he was like our third base coach, or when he was coaching the minor, like their AAA team, they're like, he was a dick. Like he was really just like, he was mean. Like, he's completely loosened up, which is good because the guy, I mean, Acuna and Ozzie, those guys, like you can't keep those guys down. You got to let them be there who they are. But I think that's the best managers, the guys who can let the guys just be dudes and go out because they're playing a game, and it's a hard game, and they can't, they can't go in there and crush them, or say stupid shit like, Marmol did earlier in the season after. I mean, you can't do that. It's just that creates a bad look for the whole team.
It's funny you mentioned Bobby Cox because I was was under the weather on Monday. I was not feeling good, so I binge watched. You won't be happy with the series I binge watched, but I binge watched 1993 NLCS. So I literally watched every game. And dude, like I'm telling you, like you gotta. I think it was game 4 or 5 after the Phillies won or whatever. I think it was an Atlanta broadcast, like Channel 10 News or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely hilarious post game. You got to go watch it. Interviewing people in Atlanta, Georgia, in a bar. Good stuff. You got to go watch that in 1993. The conversation. I mean, why are the Phillies so fat? Well, in Georgia, we like to stay a little trimmer. Like that's literally what a lady said in the bar. It was so good. Like it was just unbelievable stuff. 1993. You guys got to go watch that unless you're not a Braves fan at that point. Go into your Braves real quick here. They got a 10-game lead. You're not concerned, correct?
No, I mean we lost 2 series in a row. We still up 10.5. So I mean,
okay,
yeah,
that's pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, It's funny if you look at Braves Twitter, like we have a couple of bad games, and folks are like, "Oh shit, here it comes." We got to. What's AA doing? Is he going to bring somebody in? Like they freak out so fast. If you watch baseball long enough, I mean, you realize that it's not a sport where you just, it happens, but you don't just dominate for 162. You're going to have bad stretches. It's going to happen. You're going to lose series. You're going to lose games you shouldn't to bad teams. Like we lost 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. Shouldn't have done that, but it happens. You can't freak out about it. It's just going to happen. So overall, health is really the biggest thing. We had Rosario get a little hamstring thing. Colby Allard, who was filling in on the rotation, he went down. He's on a 60-day IL now, so we really need Fried back, which he should be back soon. Wright may be coming back near the end of the season. I still think if I had to put money on it, that we're going to go out and get a starter before the trade deadline, I would think, and maybe even a bullpen arm. But yeah, other than that, I'm not too concerned. Philly's been not doing great. Marlins have not started off the second half really well, and the Mets are the Mets. So I'm good.
Yeah, you guys are you're sitting as pretty as any team in the league right now. There's no other team sitting prettier in the league than you guys right now. I guess for you, I'd be curious to ask you this question in like September, if it's still because that's where you start to okay, if we're a good team, we're starting to pick it up by the end, and then maybe the last week, whatever. But what I mean, that's usually where I'm at with teams.
Yeah, I'm actually okay,
especially with a team that got off to such a good start.
Right, and I'm actually okay struggling a little bit now, because that's what worries you. You don't want to be struggling late in the season, right before the playoffs. That's the time you want to be really just kicking it on all cylinders. So if we're dropping a few series now and still maintaining the lead, then yeah, I'm not overly concerned about it. So just like I said, just got to stay healthy, get through the season.
Josh, you got any last thoughts on our division races here? Or should I move to our question of the week here?
First I want to do a score update.
Yeah, let's get it.
Orioles took it from Tampa, so they have the sole possession of the AL East. Just wanted to throw that out there.
How about it? About those Orioles?
Division-wise,
Brandon Hyde, Santa Rosa, California. There we go, baby.
Dude, I'm so happy to see it, though. It's been so long. They need to be up there. Somebody. It's my time.
What a logo! I love their hat. I'm going to be honest.
It's a great one.
When they went to the real bird, I was like, "What the hell are we doing?"
That was it looked like something I drew in kindergarten. I'm like, come on, that's a terrible version of a bird.
I was like, "What are we doing here? A real bird, for God's sake."
No.
This doesn't belong here.
It's boring as shit. Yeah.
That never fit at all. That's a good call, Josh. There. Thank you for the update on that. Orioles take the lead. They beat one at Tampa Bay. So that's a good series, obviously, moving forward here to the weekend 4-game series. My question of the week, I didn't tell you guys any about this, so we'll see what happens with it. Players you wish had won a World Series not on your team. So obviously you have maybe some other guys. They could have played for your team. I think of your guy Fred McGriff, or you're not Fred McGriff, but some of Ron Gant. I usually I wish 100%. He won one. Then he got in that motorcycle accident in '94. Mm-hmm. Then went to the Reds, got player. Those are the type of guys I think of that I wish had won a World Series. He missed out on that Braves one in '95. Anybody that sticks out to you guys in that regard? For me, also it's Tony Gwynn. I think that's an obvious one for most people in that one. But John, you got one that maybe sticks out. You're a Braves fan. I know you probably.
Oh yeah. I'll go non-Braves. I mean, the King Griffey Jr. I mean, that was my dude. I mean, him and Jipper were my two idols growing up. So, and I was that freaking magical season, man. I thought they were going to do it. That with Jay Buhner and Edgar Martinez and Randy and all that. But yeah, I really wish he would have got one at some point. But
I got one. I don't know if he ever won
Call
one.
there.
Did Frank Thomas ever win one?
no, another great call.
No.
I was say I'm like, I don't think
there.
Frank Thomas won one, but I didn't want to sound stupid on air.
No, I don't think he did. Yeah. No. Ryan Sandberg for me, like
That's a good call.
because he was.
That's
I mean, from
I
like
think a lot of people would have him on there.
yeah, because I mean, like we talked about before, I'd always see him on WGN. I come home from school and the Cubs are on, so obviously I was a young kid, but I mean, like I thought he was like my favorite player, I guess you could say, on the Cubs, but at the time.
Yeah, he's a funny one because a lot of people, like they said, like back when he played, it's such a rewatching that 93 thing, like the whole baseball is different, right? It's just so much different in that regard. Like, you just have a different perspective on how the old guys had to play and the way the game. It's just a lot different. The AstroTurf, everything about it, it's just totally different in the way it was played. So I have a lot of respect for those guys actually looking back at like how they had to like kind of play on some of those surfaces, and all that stuff. I got to mention a guy that was from Atlanta, Georgia, or I don't know if he's from Atlanta, but I know he's from Georgia, is Tim Hudson. I really wish he would have won the World Series.
Tim Hudson.
I love Tim Hudson. I really wish he would have won one. My guy, Miguel Tejada, he's my favorite player of all time. I really wish he would have got one as well. I don't even care if he got it on the Orioles. Any team Astros, I didn't care who he would have got it with. And my guy, he's a Giants guy, but there was something about his hard ass, and he's just a dick enough to me to like him. Is Will Clark. I just wish.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, he's just enough of an asshole where I respect it. And that's part of me where I really wish he would have got one as well. So those are a couple of guys I got to think of.
One dude. His career's not over yet. But
it's funny I said Dick and you knew who I was talking about.
100%. Yeah, everybody knows Will Clark was an asshole. Now the one dude is still playing right now, but Joey Votto, man, I got.
Yep.
Yeah.
If he obviously, I mean, he still could, but I mean, we talked about it last show. I can't not like the dude. Like it's hard not to like the guy.
Yeah, no doubt. How about Barry Bonds? How you guys feel about him not winning one?
Yeah, I don't care.
Don't give it. Nope. Don't care at all.
That's what I figured there would be about that.
Pudge Rodriguez got one, right?
Pudge?
Did he?
Did
he got one with the Marlins, right?
I was going to say, that's what I was thinking. He got one with the
He
Marlins.
beat the Yankees.
Early in his career.
Mm-hmm.
He got one with
Gonzo got one with Arizona.
Yep.
Yeah, those are some guys I think of that I wish they just would have won one a little bit. So Will Clark for me is one that stands out. Obviously, if you're from the Bay Area a little bit more, that you wish he would have got one a little bit. That was our question of the week presented by Row One Brand. Use that code VSP15. You get 15% off anything in the art gallery. Maybe an old A's winning the division picture. So be sure to get those out. I'm sure they have one out there. Dennis Eckerly somewhere out there in the picture there. I wanted to kind of go before we get kind of towards the hot and the cold here of the show. Just real quick, I have kind of a question here. I did this on my podcast this week of Fat Boy Fadeaway. I'm not going to go through the draft. I had Logan Stone on, by the way, Josh Edwards. Don't be jealous. I had him on. We'll get you on there. He was very good with it. We did a top 5 years draft. Like who will have the best record for the next 5 years? We kind of did a draft. I don't want us to go through that, but just real quick, maybe, do you have a team that you would pick? Logan took the Rangers. He got the first pick. He took the Rangers number 1. My buddy took the Orioles number 2. I took your Braves, John, number 3. How would you take that? Or somebody else differently, maybe?
Are you thinking about it too, Josh?
Yeah, I'm turning.
Mulling it over. Yeah,
right
me too.
Now,
yeah.
So I'm like the Rangers and the Orioles are easily there. The Braves are going to be there because of their roster. I'm trying to think of anybody different.
Well, the Reds were on there by a few people on there. I
don't trust the Reds manager.
I took the Dodgers number 2. That was my second pick overall in the thing. And I took the Blue Jays with the 9th pick overall. Logan took with his second overall pick. He took the he took the who did he take? The Diamondbacks. That was who he took overall second. So I just kind of curious if you had one team that stands out. You have to go deep and do it. But I took the Braves number one. I had them on my top list for 5 years.
Yeah.
You're giving me the best record for 5 years. I'm taking the Braves. They gave me my second pick, the Dodgers number 2. So that's where I was going. The Rangers was who Logan threw out there as well. They have a young, good farm system. They spend a buttload of money, so we all know they can be capable of that, as we saw. Just curious if you had a team or two that stands out to you.
Yeah, I mean, I can just be a homer and say the Braves are one. Just, I mean, and
how about your Orioles? You mentioned them.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, the youth that they have, and I mean that they've obviously made some good picks. You got Holiday Son coming up probably sooner than later.
He looks like a beast.
He does look like a beast. So,
you guys don't have a clue. You guys don't have a freaking clue. He is going to be more than a beast unless he busts.
He looks like it. His swing
looks
electric.
It does. Yeah. I mean, it looks crazy. Yeah. I mean, with the Braves, like you said, Josh, I mean, we've got so many team friendly contracts. It's ridiculous. I mean, we've got our core is tied up for quite a while.
5 years.
Yeah. And our pitching's deep. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's tough to go against that. Texas is definitely one that's up there. I warned this. I probably would have said Seattle earlier in the season, but now like they've kind of let me down. So I can't.
I think Josh is in that same boat, right?
Yep, I sure am.
In that same boat with Seattle.
Cincinnati's probably up there, like you said. I don't know what to think of San Diego. I mean, what Soto is going to be on the trade block from what I'm hearing? Is that a rumor y'all heard?
Yeah, I don't know what to think of San Diego.
I don't either.
That is let's go to them for a second, though, real quick. Is the most. Go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
Before you go strictly to them, is it not funny that the teams with the highest payrolls in baseball are both having absolutely horrible seasons, are in 4th place in their respective divisions?
Baseball is a weird sport. It's not basketball, people. You don't just get the best players, and that works
not
like
fantasy,
that.
Dude. It's not fantasy.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, basketball is the only sport where if you get the stud on your team, you're probably winning that like next year. Yeah. That's the only sport where it translates. Well, why? Well, because there's 5 people that play on the court. That's why the way it translates to that sport. Other sports, you have to play 9. In baseball, you can avoid these guys if you actually want to avoid them a little bit more than you have to in the other sports. I just want to touch on the Padres real quick, though, because to me, they're the most fascinating team in the whole league. I said the Angels. We'll get into them in a second, but just the Padres, I don't even know what in the world. I mean, my buddy lives down in that area. He's like, everybody's freaking out. Like, they have no idea why they're losing. They have all these studs on their team. And I honestly, like, their pitching, though, to me has always been their biggest concern going into the year. Like, you can't just pick up random guys and be really good. To that said, Blake Snell has been pretty damn good, but they just don't have this chemistry. Josh, I said I'm worried about Melvin's job. He might not get fired this year, but there's a good chance he's fired if they don't make the playoffs this year.
I don't know if he gets fired.
Man,
I think there may be a mutual separation after the season, because he may go, you know what, you guys have done screwed this whole thing up. There's nothing I can do because the contracts are so big. We can't move the players. I am happy leaving. I'm saying that could be a scenario where he just looks at it and goes, you guys can deal with this dumpster fire. See ya.
Yeah.
And then he can come over to St. Louis.
That'd be a great fit. Holy shit. That would be a great fit.
Yeah, I'm sure Josh would be very excited about that. The Cardinals swoop up another guy when they're going there with it.
Heck yeah.
Little dodge.
Or I'd try to go get Bruce Bochy from Texas.
It's one of those things, though. You have to have the right guy to manage all those egos, man. That's a lot of egos in that dugout. So if it's not the right dude, or even if it's, y'all know as well as I do, there's some players that just don't really necessarily respect some of the managers, or don't see it that way. They're more me guys than they are team guys. So I'm not saying that's what's going on there, because Machado's obviously matured a lot over the years. He's not the same guy he was at Baltimore. He's became that kind of team leader type of guy. But
absolutely.
But I don't. It's just like you said. It's just, you can't just go out there and buy the most expensive players and expect it to work, because this baseball is just not like that, man.
Soto's a weird case to me, though, because usually, like in baseball, if you establish yourself as a stud over a 3 to 4 year period, especially as you're a young guy, it usually continues a little bit. And I'm not saying he's like still has a good eye. He still walks. The numbers are still good there. But he's not – for me, it just feels like he's not having fun in terms of, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's something not there.
Yep.
Like, it's kind of that same thing. Like, sometimes I wonder if these guys wish they were the stud on a team that didn't have all these other guys around them. Like, I don't know. Like, if you're, like, one of the top 25 hitters of
like he was with the
at that point, you know what I mean? Like, you want good hitters around you. But if you have ego hitters around you,
right,
you might want your different team. And I just wonder about that sometimes with these teams that don't have success. It's like, well, they have all this talent. It might work. Yeah, but it's like work. If you're not in a good mood, you're pissed off, your rate of failure is going to be more. And in baseball, that's not a good thing at all. So I just kind of wonder about that with the Padres and all that stuff. Like, that's just my theory on it. Is like, you have too many cooks in the chef, too many cooks in the kitchen, basically.
Yeah, and I didn't. When I said me guys, I meant more like kind of like that. Like, if you're going, like, say, for instance, they're at bats. Like, okay, they're probably going up there thinking, I'm going to take 3 swings for me and 1 for the team. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go up there. I'm looking for a home run. I'm looking for, whatever, instead of maybe doing something like going the other way or, just doing traditional baseball things going to help the team. They may be thinking more about themselves, more about stats. Because you got a bunch of those guys that are just taking, because obviously, we've seen all the strikeout numbers go up and everything like that. It's not like, there's a lot of guys that just don't hit for contact anymore. That's not really a thing. If you see guys going the other way now, that's unheard of. Bunting is unheard of. So, like, just, all the old school type of things. It's
so
it's kind of
old school, man.
but it's like it's kind of all or nothing, like it's
Jeff Wowzer, Bunting.
Oh man, yeah,
over to second base.
Yeah, it's just a lost art, man. You see the what was it? Japan has the bunt derby.
Yeah,
have you seen this?
I love that thing where they try to put it in the target.
Yeah, instead of a home run with a bunt derby, they have to bunt it into like a little target thing.
Awesome. I gotta go look that up.
Oh, yeah, dude, you gotta look it up. It's hilarious.
Awesome. It's good.
Also pretty talented, but yeah, it's hilarious.
It is. Like, if you had a big dart circle, to be able to put it in a circle like that after a pitch like that, I would say that's very impressive as well. The Padres, to me, are just the most intriguing team in the league in terms of that failure. The second most intriguing team as we get to trade predictions. Maybe you don't have a player or whatever. Ohtani and the Angels is obviously where we're going to go. They sweep the Yankees, Josh. The Yankees are completely falling off the map a little bit. Be curious of what they do if they actually trade some players at all. I don't think they will. It doesn't seem like the Yankee way, even though they're in last place, people. In the AL East, sorry. Sorry, New York. I'm sorry. I'm still bitter over Jeremy Giambi. All right, so trade predictions there in this. Ohtani, to me, is the biggest. He's the biggest fish, no doubt. No doubt. They're a game over 500 now after that sweep. If you're an Angels fan, that you're almost in this spot where you're going crazy, like, just either suck or not, man. What are we doing here? Like, but after Ohtani hits a bomb, Oppo flips the bat like a stud, like just an absolute effing beast, and then runs around the bases. You cannot trade this, man. It cannot happen in your franchise history that you trade this guy. Run it out. Just hope to God you make the playoffs as a wild card. I just don't think you trade this guy in any world possible. But is there any other trade predictions? You could talk on Ohtani. Anything else you want to go to in this regard? John, I'll give you the first word with this one. What do you think trade prediction-wise? You can start with Ohtani if you want.
I don't. I'm staying away from Ohtani. I'll be wrong on that one. I think he's going to go to here's what I'll say. He's going to go to a major city. He's not going to go to a mid-market team. He's going to go to a large market team on the coast. So it's probably going to be New York, San Francisco, LA, Dodgers. It's going to be one of those teams, unless, and here's the wild card for me. I got 3 of them.
All right, let's hear it.
Baltimore, Miami, actually 4, Texas, and Arizona. But if they're a small market team, I don't think they'll go there. But I think those teams, seeing what they're like, Texas for sure, because they are on the verge of setting up for a long run. Miami, they've got something down there, and they have one of the best pitching staffs. Throw Ohtani out there, and you can move Jazz Chisholm back to second base and put Ohtani out in center. Now you just solve 3 problems with one thing, and you have easily the best starting pitching staff in the MLB. maybe not easily, but you're in the top. You got one of the top 5 pitching staffs in the league. I mean, that would make sense to me if Miami was willing to go all in. That would be very out of character for that organization. But I can see it happen. I can see that as a place. But Baltimore, to me, seems realistic because that makes Baltimore super scary.
Got a comment here real quick here. We got the Traveling Board Gamer. First of all, that's just an incredible name, by the way. And
It's
Ohtani,
Jim.
huh?
It's Jim.
Jim, very impressive name there. Traveling Board Gamer. That is an impressive name. And the fact that you got Jim out of that's impressive. No, all right. Ohtani, too expensive to trade for. A team will have to trade its future away and then sign a record deal with him next year. I think most teams interested will just try to sign him. I think, John, that's the way that most teams are going to take it. But, my gosh, if you have a chance to get a absolute 0 of 0, as a guy me and Josh interviewed last week, Mike McHenry, I said 1 of 1. He said 0 of 0. So he went lower than me on it. Do you make that trade and trade your farm system for this guy? I think of the Giants in particular because I live out here in the Bay Area. Mm-hmm. It just seems like a golden opportunity to give this man 2 months to see your spot. How do you feel about just Ohtani in general and going out and maybe making a big trade for just a lifetime player?
Yeah, I mean, what Jim just said, I mean, that's the risk you take, right? Do you give away a ton and then he potentially doesn't sign with you? So, that's the biggest thing. That'd be the worst case scenario. Like, you trade away everybody, you get him for 2 months, you don't win the World Series, and then you're shit out of luck. So that's the biggest thing there. I do think there'll be teams calling and saying like, hey, what do you think about this? Are we in the ballpark, kind of filling them out? But ultimately, I don't think anything happens. I just think it's just too much. I totally think that they'll just wait and sign and go from there.
If I was the team that would do this, because I kind of reminds me of the A's when they did a stupid trade for Samardzija, but this is the team I would do. Samardzija is not on the same level as Mr. Ohtani, so that's a different subject. But I would just go.
I love Samardzija, though.
If I was the Brewers, that's the team I would go all in. You're losing Burns next year. Yeah. You're not keeping Williams in the future. You're not keeping Woodruff in the future. I'm just saying, for 2 months, I would go the Sabathia route. I would just say, I'm getting this guy for 2 months. I know I'm not signing him. I would give up everything in the world for this guy. That's the team. This has got
I'm going to get your GM fired shit all over it. This is, you know what I mean? Like,
I would. Especially if I've been in it for 7 years.
All right, but if they won the World Series,
you're gold.
That GM's not getting fired.
No, hell no.
And they would have the
Raptors in basketball. Trade for Kawhi Leonard. You do it.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Oh, Kawhi.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I'm telling you, that's the team, though, if I was any team. Because you're right. If you're a team that knows you can sign him, why would you give up 7 guys to get him?
No way.
I'm just saying that's why a team like the Brewers and maybe the Twins, but I don't think they would. But to me, the Brewers have, like Josh had mentioned earlier, have shown more than a history of just making wild trades at the deadline. That's the one wild card I would throw out there because who gives a crap if Ohtani's in there for 2.5 months? He's leaving, but they can at least go at it. So that's, to me, that's my trade prediction is he ends up in Milwaukee.
Would the potential injury type of thing affect this too? Because if you lose, what do you say? Maybe the A's do it. You track someone.
That'd actually be funny.
That
would actually be awesome.
They have to play in Oakland for 1 more year, then probably Sacramento for 2. So my guess is Ohtani's not going to sign up for
that. Probably not. No. But anyway, no. You're shit. What was that?
Yes.
The injury. Yeah. So I mean, would the injury thing worry you at all? Because if he by chance, has to go down with the arm injury, like you're losing essentially 2 players. You're losing your outfielder and your pitcher. Yeah. I mean, that's a slight concern too. I mean, dude's throwing upper 90s, and it's just because we've never seen him. We don't know what the longevity is. We've never seen it, so we don't know how to really predict it.
He's a freak,
right? Yeah.
You guys have any other trade predictions? Any maybe lower key, bigger ones? Obviously, Josh, with your Cardinals playing better, they're probably out of the trade game in that one. And the A's are sell the freaking team. That's the quote here this year at the A's. Sorry, Josh. We brought up the A's. Go ahead.
No, I was just say the Cards are going to be. I think they're going to be sellers. So the goal is to move players. Like they've already come out and said it. They're going to go try to acquire pitching at the deadline, but it's all pitching. Well, originally it was all pitching for next year and beyond. Now with this run they're on, where they're about to win 9 of their last 11, that may be okay. We're going to trade some people, and we're going to get pitchers who can help us now. So instead of getting guys with just term, we may see the Cardinals pick up a rental or two, along with going and getting guys with term. So I think the Cardinals are going to be sellers in the sense they're going to try to get rid of some of their names, but I think they're going to be very focused on who they're going to try and trade for. And if they can't get those players, I think they'll be more docile at the deadline than I anticipated originally.
The Cardinals I think the Cardinals are definitely in the top 5 of most intriguing teams at the deadline. I don't think there's any doubt. Obviously, next week we'll have a show on it next week because we're getting even closer to the deadline there with it. John, any thoughts maybe with your Braves as well? Are they making any trades? Anything else you're hearing or anything you want to see happen?
Yeah, I definitely want to see a starter come to Atlanta.
Max Fried is coming.
Yeah. I mean that's almost like a trade. That's almost like an acquisition at trade deadline, right? Yeah, I wouldn't. Chicago intrigues me a little bit with Stroman, like having the kind of season he's having. Possibly go somewhere. The team we just talked about, San Diego, they're 10 games out. I mean, are they going to try to sell and you know what I mean, like call it a day? I mean, we already know Soto possibly, and then some other pitching may be going. I don't. They said Hader possibly. Tatis, Hader's maybe on the block.
That's a game changer if that happens. All those guys.
Oh, dude, yeah, totally. So, I mean, that's kind of intriguing. I mean, I don't know. Washington doesn't really have anybody. I mean, trade Goldie.
Jim, that's the exact thing I said. I've said it, I think 3 times on the Birds at Bush. That's the exact same scenario I've come up with. Trade Goldie, move Walker to first.
You're not trading Goldschmidt, man. You're not trading him.
Hold on. Hear me out.
Pulled the cap down for this one.
Hold on. Hold on. All right.
Game time.
So here's how the Cardinals become playoff contenders this year. And maybe this year, but definitely next year. Like they win the division by a landslide next year. You trade Goldschmidt for starting pitching. You take Jordan Walker. You move him to first base because he's actually a third baseman. He's like 6'6" and 230 pounds.
Giant,
He'll be fine at first base. He's just got to learn how to play the position. He'll transfer from third to first better than he has from transferred from third to the outfield. That's why I say go ahead and trade Goldie. Your future's right there. Give Walker a 10-year, pull a Braves move, 10-year, $15 million a year, sign him and get it done with. He's that good. He's as good, if not better, than Elly De La Cruz. Elly De La Cruz is faster, but Walker's a better all-around player.
Wow.
Then you trade O'Neill. You trade DeYoung because I'm trying to think of who it was I talked about. There's a team out there who's good who needs a shortstop who's defensive. So you traded DeYoung to
Minnesota. Just kidding.
No.
Hilarious. I love it.
I think it was
Screw you, Correa.
No. Anyways, so you trade DeYoung to the team that needs a defensive shortstop. You trade O'Neill to anybody for a bag of balls. You then move you put Gorman's your DH. You move Edmund to second base. No, actually, you leave Gorman at second, bring Edmund back to short. You reset your outfield. And then you picked up a pitcher, and then you got to trade somebody else to go get a bullpen arm. And if you can find another starting pitcher out there, you trade away Jordan Montgomery for a starting pitcher with term because he's not going to re-sign with the Cardinals anyways. You trade Jack Flaherty to the LA Dodgers for 2 of their top 3 pitching prospects. So you guys got term, and you can build your minor league pitching system. And that's how you fix the team for now and into the future.
Sold. Let's do it.
But I would happily trade Jack Flaherty out to the Atlanta Braves.
That's actually been going around out here. There's a lot of folks in that because that's Max's boy, from high school.
I wouldn't want to do that.
Just send me back another Adam Wainwright.
No.
That's all I'm asking.
Give me somebody that can
It
close
still
out a
hurts.
World Series and win a World Series starting. That's all. Just give me one guy like that.
Right.
You do play 15 years for me. The Braves and the Cardinals, obviously two of the best franchises there. It's always funny to me when they make trades with each other. So I feel like they're two of the smartest ones. You've obviously, Josh, been questioning the Cardinals a little bit more lately. So there's some things with that. But it is always funny to me when those two teams make franchises because I feel like they're always smarter than the other team. So when they trade with each other, I'm always like, what the hell's going on here? What is up here? So one of these guys isn't making sense with it. Hey,
Both teams usually win when we trade with each other, though.
That is true. That is true. I agree with that. All right. Hey, as we kind of get to the end of the show here a little bit, I got to ask you guys if you've been doing this at all because it's been a Logan Stone who he tweeted me a couple weeks ago. It's probably been going on for years. I don't know how long, but it kind of gets the brain moving in the morning, people. Gets the brain going a little bit.
I don't like that.
Have you been doing the Immaculate Grid at all, Josh? Or have you done any of this? Have you heard of it at all? John, have you heard of it at all?
Oh, I've heard of it. Yeah, I'm kind of anti brain moving in the morning. So
well, it doesn't have to be morning. Get some coffee in you, my friend. Get some coffee. You don't have to be. You have to be crazy with it. You can get your. I'm going to show you guys what they have for today with it. What I got here with it. Immaculate Grid. So, Josh, what it looks like is you basically have these teams that you have to pick, right?
I've seen this,
and it's very interesting. I'm one of these guys who are like, yes, I know a lot about baseball. I know a ton about baseball, and then I'm like, who the hell played for the Pirates and the Mets? And I'm like, gosh, damn it, I don't know. And then you look it up, and you're like, these guys played for like 7 different teams. Almost every player in the league that played 15 years. I just got to throw Octavio Dotel out there probably half the time, and I get it right most of the time. But it's really funny doing these things. Have you guys ever tried messing with this at all? John, it sounds like you have not.
I've not. I've seen it. A few of my buddies have, and so yeah, I might dabble in it. I mean, like 300. What does that say? 300 plus career average.
They do it for football too.
Yeah, I've seen the football ones too. Yeah.
The fun part is seeing if you can get it like the lowest percentage of guys. You know what I mean? That's the end. Travel, Jim. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you tuning in here this morning. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate it. The funny one is so for one that I enjoyed is I had over 100 RBIs and made the All-Star team. I was very proud of Henry Rodriguez on the Expos. That was my 0.2%. I was very happy about that one, John.
What a pool, man.
So I encourage anybody to try that out. It's actually a lot of fun there doing the Immaculate Grid, believe it or not. Kind of just especially if you're a sports nerd like me, there's just like you kind of bring up some old memories watching the stuff and stuff like that. Just kind of how I was saying to John about the 93 NLCS, probably one he doesn't want to watch, but it was great seeing Otis Nixon. Great seeing Fred McGriff just rake at times. Like it was fun watching the young lefty, whatever his name is. I forget it. It was John Smoltz at 26.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? It was hilarious.
Was Steve Avery? Steve Avery was there. And,
Kurt Schilling at 26. It was good stuff. John Crook. I encourage you guys to watch that stuff. It's always great looking back at history with those things for sure.
Speaking of things you don't want to watch, and this is not baseball, I apologize. Did y'all see that NFL's Twitter account, what they posted last week?
What did they post?
No.
They tweeted out, they said, frick it, let's just show the entire game. And it was the entire 2016 Super Bowl. So you can imagine what Atlanta Falcons Twitter did.
Yeah.
They went off. And a few hours later, NFL deleted that tweet. Game was gone.
I heard actually something out of your pod. Okay, now I know what you're talking about with that. So basically, you're telling me as Twitter went on, they showed the whole game of that, and Falcons Nation said, you better get that off Twitter immediately.
They got attacked. And I mean, I don't know what they thought the response was going to be when you throw like one of the most terrible days in our entire fandom on there and to watch that's the game you're going to pick. Like, dude, like the entire country wanted us to win, except for New Orleans. The entire country wanted us to beat Tom Brady. So give me a break.
Vouching for you.
So
on that one.
Yeah, but anyway, that just pissed me off. Anyway,
that's why
that was the night I swore off the Falcons forever.
See, I mean, that's probably a better life choice, but here I am doing
what
a
stage is that, John? What stage is that?
That'd be the anger, probably the anger stage, I guess. Yeah, just the anger or the acceptance. I'm not sure. Maybe acceptance.
Always good stuff. That's one of my favorite videos. You guys You did a good job with that one for sure.
They killed it. Oh yeah, that's his
That was
best
a
work
good one.
for sure.
Because obviously, as a fan, you always have these stages. I'm going through it now with the Raiders fan. I could do 78 billion stages. I think it's funny to me when I watch your pod. I'm like, I need a Raiders pod like this because I just don't believe. You know what I mean? Like it's just you need this outlet at times like that. So that's why. But I got to go to. That's why the Immaculate Grid it keeps me grounded in the morning. I wake up, do my coffee, makes me think. I get pissed off because I can't think of guys I should know. And there we go. From there, the day's getting started.
Where do you find these Immaculate Grids?
I usually find them on Twitter. I know they do them on Baseball Reference, Football Reference, and all that stuff as well. So if you go on Twitter and you just type in Immaculate Grid and search, you'll find it easily there. All right, we're getting on the hour 10 mark here. Hot and cold. I got one last thing for you guys with hot and cold this week. You guys can add with it as well. I got to bring up some guys that have been just absolutely red hot this week. And teams as well. Mookie Betts, 14 for 30 in the last 14 days, 9 runs, 4 home runs, 8 RBIs, batting .368 with a 1.218 on base percentage. My guy, Cody Bellinger, who I dropped in fantasy, you son of a biatch. You should not have got hurt. I would have not have dropped you. I wouldn't have dropped you. 17 for 37 in his last 14. Listen to these numbers, folks. 12 runs, 5 home runs in 14 days, 10 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and batting a robust .459 in 14 days. Cody Bellinger, you are definitely as hot as it gets. And the Rangers, you are hot as well. 6-game winning streak. Got to give you a little love as well coming out of the break. That's my hot gentleman of the week. My cold of the week. Cedric Mullins, disappointed. You go on the DL after the horse so hot. You go on the DL. He's one of my favorite players in the league. He goes on the DL this week with an injury. Pete Alonso, 3 for 30 after the home run derby, not doing very well at all, struggling out of the gate. Only 1 home run, 4 RBIs to Josh's approval.
Polar Bear is I'm not going to say what he is. I try to keep this family friendly.
No, you know what? You need to come on our show. You can say whatever you want.
I'll do that sometime. You'll be like, man, I didn't know he knew those words. No, she's in the bedroom.
All right. He's got one of the babies with him. All right. And then the cold of the week. The coldest. Ice. Absolutely frigid cold. My guy, Jared Kalenic from the Seattle Mariners, breaking his left foot after kicking the Gatorade cooler after striking out. He gave an emotional press conference today, how he is apologetic about it and how he felt sincere about how he was just out of his mind. People, do not kick things. If you're a professional athlete,
you kick the living shit out of that for a Gatorade cooler to break your foot.
Yeah,
break your foot out, and you don't punch a wall if you're a pitcher, right? You don't use your pitching hand. That's standard rules. Standard rules.
Waskar and Yanoa a few years ago for us punched the bench, broke his hand. That was that. Never was the same.
My favorite freak injury is Clint Marmis falling down the stairs. He used to play for the Rockies. He was bringing to his apartment. He was bringing up groceries. Had too many in his bags. We've all been there as a male, and you're trying to carry 10 bags up the stairs. I got it. My wife. Don't worry about it. I can carry 10 of these up the. And then he fell. He broke his hand. To me, that's one of the more embarrassing ones. Glenn Allen Hell, arachnophobia, fell off the ladder. He saw a spider. That also belongs on the list as well. But
I got one.
Jared, he definitely belongs on cold of the week. Yeah, give me one.
Grammatica.
Oh, the lefty against the New York Giants on a Saturday afternoon. I can remember like it was yesterday. Honestly, can.
I would hurt himself.
You remember Gus Farrar giving himself a concussion?
Oh, gosh, yes.
He had butted the damn goalpost. Out.
Goodbye.
Not a good decision on that point to concuss yourself. That was a good one. There. If you look up, there are some good ones in terms of injuries that have happened, like just classics. I don't know why the Clint Barmas, because I can relate maybe to carrying like 10 bags up an apartment building. Yes, that one I kind of react to, because at times you're just like, whatever, I'm going to carry this up. So that's my hot and the cold of the week. Anything you guys want to add to that?
I'll add my guy, Austin Riley, man. 4 homers, 11 RBIs in 3-game series against Arizona. The reason we won today, We lost that game, the first game of the series, 16-13, damn football score. He scored 13 runs, lose the game. But he had 7 RBIs in that game, and so he's turned it around. And your boy Matty O, 32nd home run today. So again,
Yes.
thank you, A's, appreciate y'all.
The Oakland A's. We very good. How about your boy Arenado, Josh?
I was gonna
15
say-
RBIs in 14 days.
Yeah, man.
He had 17 RBIs in our homestand that we just had. Batted 390.
Nice.
Had
What's tough to do on a video
5
game?
home runs. His OPS was like something stupid. His OPS plus was off the. Arenado. I said last night on the Birds of Bush. Arenado looks like MVP Arenado right now. Where have you been all year, buddy? Like, if you would have been like this all season, we would not be in the position we're in. But no, he's been lights out recently, and Nolan Gorman has found it again.
Yeah.
So, and then the Cardinals pitching staff, the starters haven't lost a game in over 2 weeks.
That's impressive.
Insane.
For the starters we have, it's superiorly impressive, and our bullpen's even woken up. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's my hot. My cold. My cold's got to be the Rays. That's got to be my cold. I mean, that's got to be my disappointing cold is the Rays.
No doubt there. Hey, John, I got to ask you this real quick because Freeman's on fire as well. Like, is there part of a Braves fan that wish they still had Freeman and not Olsen, though?
There's probably a very small contingent that does, but I almost everybody has really, really taken to Olsen. I mean, and
It's hard not to. He's a stud.
It's hard not to. Yeah, he's a stud. But I mean, the fact there's still the old hats that are still kind of on the batting average thing.
He does strike out a lot.
He strikes out a lot, but it's like, if you look at the OPS and you look at RBIs, you look at home runs, then I don't care if he strikes out a lot. Like, if you're giving me that, then yeah, that's fine. That's. But I mean, yeah, he's the first season definitely probably half an. Last year was probably 50-50. It was, they weren't sure. I don't know if this is the right decision. And then this year, it's definitely probably like a 85-15 type of thing. I mean, it's still appreciate Freddie, and I love everything he did here, but I think everybody's moved on to Olsen, and him being from here, that helps. Obviously, I mean, he's a hometown kid, so it's it's easy to settle in. But and that was a tough transition for him to follow Freddie. I mean, the way that all went down, the way that happened,
they're totally different hitters.
Way different. It's there's times there's definitely at bats you would say okay, I'd prefer Freddie at this at bat right now because I know Freddie's going to put it in play. That's the only difference. But and defensively Freddie's better, I think. But overall, man, I mean, we're very happy with
I mean, you got him for what, 150 million less, and he's still a stud. So that's part of the deal with it. Freeman would have got to get paid a ton. I think Freeman's obviously the better hitter. I mean, you just watch their bat. Like you said, they make contact more, but it's hard not to like a guy like Olsen too. Obviously, as an A's fan out here, it's hard for me not to root for him. Even when I see him hitting just absolute bombs, and nobody, and I mean nobody, can catch fire better than Matt Olsen. If you give me a 2-week stretch of Matt Olsen on fire, you just got to get that in the playoffs, John, and you'll be just perfectly fine there in that regard.
I thought when he came here, hitting as many as he did at the A's Park, I'm like, well, he's going to just destroy here in Atlanta because the ball travels and short porch in right field to the chop house. I mean, he's going to just today the one he hit. We'll go watch the replay. It was he probably touched some clouds, man. It was just straight up, and it was just bombs, man. And I mean, it was a 91. It was a 91 on the black inside, brought his hands in just right on the right field line, and I was just nobody thought it was out initially. It was just shit, that's just way up there, and then just kept flying, and it was all right. But but Murphy too. I mean, I didn't think Murphy would get as many home. I thought he would hit good. I didn't think he would hit this good. He's been.
I didn't either.
He's been ridiculous, but
I didn't think he would be able to. I know Josh did because he wanted him on the Cardinals there for a while, so I know he thought he'd hit that good. I thought he would be able to not lay out the slider. Gentlemen, we've been on here for an hour and 20 minutes. We had a good show here, 7th inning stretch. Any last thoughts on the league? Josh, I want to say this to you. I don't know if you got to check my last podcast out, but I did a look back at Game 6, Rangers at Cardinals. I appreciate if you ever have anything for me. I love doing look backs, old game. I just told John I watched tonight. So anything like I love reviewing that stuff, just like because it gives me a good perspective of history. Looking back at that game, absolutely hilarious. Like there's so many things that just it's funny. Look at the games. Like the pitcher's still hitting in the American League. Like how it changed the whole entire game of baseball. You pitched around the 8-hitter to get to the 9-hitter. Like just all those things with it. Colby Lewis batting in the 9th inning. David Freese, he was awful for the first 7 innings of that game. Awful. He gave up a run. He dropped a fly ball at third base, but he came up huge. Just a lot of, and my favorite thing about the game, favorite fun fact, in the 2nd inning in that game, the trivia question they had on Fox was, how many Game 6 World Series walk-offs have there been? That was their 2nd inning question in that game. And of course, David Freese goes on to hit a home run in that Game 6 there. So you got any advice for me in any type of look back, please send it my way there. I'm a big baseball guy.
Dude, we should do those in the off season together.
Oh yeah, I had to do it this week during All-Star break. It was great looking back. We watched the whole game. Ron Wash, Josh Hamilton, like the Rangers, so many heroes on the line. For Cruz, it looked like just a great game looking back at it. And like I said, when you watch the whole game, you just miss certain things. Like Job, when I was watching that '93 series to start out Game 1, they weren't even talking baseball for 10 minutes. They were talking. Guess what? Michael Jordan had just retired that day. So they were talking about they were interviewing the Braves and Phillies players about Michael Jordan for 10 minutes. It was just great stuff looking back. I encourage people to do that. It just gives you a good perspective on things kind of going forward with it. But with that said, gentlemen, I don't have anything here more for the 7th inning stretch. Josh, John, it's been fun. I feel like we've touched on all the division races. John, where can we find you guys out? You guys are always putting out content. I appreciate you coming on and joining us here on the show again this week. It's always great getting your perspective on baseball.
Yeah, dude. No, like I said, anytime you guys want me, if I can make it, I definitely will, because I love talking baseball and Braves and anytime. But yeah, no, we're gonna, of course, training camp is next week. Starting out. So yeah, rookies have already reported. Veterans will be there Tuesday. Mike and I are going to be at training camp here in Atlanta on Flower Ranch, but here in Atlanta on Thursday morning, bright and early. So we'll be there. Probably going to post some videos that day. Probably have a show later in the day to kind of recap, first day of training camp and whatnot. And we'll have a show that's coming up on Tuesday night with Scott Kennedy. He runs a site called All Falcons. He's had it for a while. Great dude. Been looking forward to getting him on. And yeah, we're going to start ramping it up, man. We'll probably start getting 2 shows a week coming up, now when the season gets going, and then just whatever happens, if some craziness drops, and we'll pop in some new shows. And, so it's going to we've been doing the 1 show a week for this slow summertime, but it's about to get ramped up again, man. I can't wait. And then we'll still keep, like I said, I'll still keep talking baseball though. So y'all just hit me up whenever you want me. I'll still come on.
No, it goes into football season. Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. It might even go to the first week of November now. Who knows? It might
yeah.
I'm going to be interested to see how you pull double duty with football season.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah. I mean, obviously we hope for a deep run with the Braves, but it's going to be, hoping for an exciting start with the Falcons too. So, it's going to be, and I mean, with we've got, obviously, Darren too. I mean, you got your diehard fans that just will tune in. Like it blew us away that we still have fans tuning into our shows in June and July when there's, literally nothing going on except for just people writing stuff to make up articles to get something out there to clickbait, and it's like, I mean, I said last night on our show, like, man, everybody watching our show, man, you guys are the underrated, like, real heroes here, because you're still coming out watching the football show in June. Like, man, we appreciate it. So, I mean, it's great, man. But I can't wait for the season.
Hey, I'm from the West Coast. In the South, all I hear is football is all that matters. So you should have a.
That's true. It's as funny as it sounds. Like Atlanta is still like. It's such a transient city, but I mean, it's more of a college. Like if you ask anybody around, it's still more of a college. Like UGA dominates the state, University of Georgia, and there's still a ton of Falcons fans, but it's still more heavily college, all the way around.
That's what's kind of cool about that Southern feel, because out here on the West Coast, like college sports it really is. I mean, like even when Cal and Stanford are good, it's like, well, Saturday it's
nice
79 degrees. I can go out and do this. So it's like, it's a weird vibe out here with college sports and the way they've kind of treated it. But I'm always fascinated by that Southern college sports
aspect. It's life or death around here, man. SEC
ESPN devoted a whole freaking channel to the SEC.
Yeah. Yeah, SEC is some serious, big time. Yeah, but it's like I said, the Falcons. I mean, especially now, as you know, it's definitely. If you're still, and Lisa said it last night, the guest we had from Blog and Dirty, if you're a fan after 2016, you're a real fan. You're a real fan. Like if you stuck in it after that, then and it's like, and because we're used to, like a lot of our listeners are younger too. So like from Mike and I, we're like, we taught our listeners started watching when Michael Vick was the quarterback, so like that's how they became fans was, watching that exciting. I'm like, shit, you guys I was out of college at that point. Like, but I mean, like it, so other than making us feel old. I mean, it was, dude. Yeah. I mean, Brett Favre was on the Falcons when I started watching them. I mean, like that's how damn old that was. So, and he loved to party in Buckhead. That's why he didn't stay here. But, I mean, it was, it's a very passionate fan base, but, and it's like I said, you're going to see the bins, I think, filled up more this year just because of all the excitement around the team. So definitely going to be better than the last couple of years. That's for sure. With your boy Mariota last year. Yeah. So,
the Netflix series I've been watching, but I got to tune into that with it. So I'm interested.
Have you watched it yet?
I have not yet.
Oh my God. Just pissed me off all over again.
Okay, I'm not. Mahomes is in my division, so that's the part that's probably going to piss me off.
That will piss you off. Yeah, he's going to be like go down as the best guy ever to do it at that position when it's all said and done. I mean,
kind of, and unfortunately, he's in the division of my team there. With like I said, I appreciate you coming on tonight with it, Josh. I know you had Birds and Bush last week. Your Colts did reveal the uniform. If we're going to go football style here today.
Okay, so can I throw in on this? I think they look great.
They look great.
I think they look awesome, and I like the material they used because they used heathered.
It looks too solid.
But
I like it.
Dude, it's always been solid white for us.
I like the helmet.
I love the helmet. Looks awesome.
Yeah, the helmet.
I dig the jersey because, and you're right, the jersey's all that blue, but it's got that texture to it where when you get closer to the pictures, it's got like specks in it too.
I saw it. Yeah.
I think it looks neat because it's like the stuff tweed. I think it's tweed is what they call it or something. I don't know, but it looks cool. And I'm a big fan of it.
I know a lot of people are we're hating on it today. Some were liking on it. I was kind of in between on it. I kind of like to see the white pants with the blue, see what it looks like there with it. But
that would look better.
The helmet, it's hard for me to argue with the helmet there with the Colts on it for sure there with it. That's a tough one for me. I totally dig the helmet there with their new uniform. Josh,
what did you guys think about the Browns?
You did the Birds and Bush yesterday though, right?
Yeah, we went for an hour and 40 last night.
Oh, you sound that's a lot of talking crappy baseball. No, you got that?
Well, so Jordan's going to be on hiatus for a little bit because he's doing some stuff to better his professional life. So he's going to be out for about 5 weeks. So we went a little longer last night to make sure he got everything he needed.
Well, in those 5 weeks, my friend, me and you will have each other, right? We'll have each other for 5 weeks here over the dog days of August, getting through it. John, I appreciate you coming on again tonight, like we said, on the 7th inning stretch. For Josh Edwards, for John from Out of Your Falcon Mind, I'm Darren from Fat Boy Fadeaway Sports. We hope to see you next week on 7th inning stretch. Till then, peace.
See ya.